Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmas, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Between the Headlines on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Between the Headlines, we're going to be looking at the appointment or the nomination of Justice Gbeisay as the Chief Justice of Liberia. Also, we're going to look at the memorialization or the memorial or reburial of President William R. Tolbert Jr. and the 13 slain government officials on April 22, 1980. Last and definitely not the least, Representative Yekeh Kolubah toward the southeast. Representative Yekeh went where almost no government officials had been. What is Yekeh up to? We're going to delve into that. Let me welcome Ms. Dr. Clarence Pearson. He's the neo-progressive commentator and author. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight, and I look forward to a beautiful discussion. Hi to all our listening audience out there.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not done so already, please share the show, invite someone, and let's talk Liberia. We are expecting other panelists joining us very soon, but as we say in Liberia, airplane can blow home. Dr. Pearson, the nomination of Justice Gbeisay. And we have a law in Liberia that when justice turns 70, they have to retire. I don't know, how they came up with that in Liberia, where when you 40, you stay youth, but that's another story. So Chief Justice, CNN, you will retire, and now that gave President Bouaka the opportunity to nominate a Chief Justice, and he has one more. He got to add one more person to the bench, and. Just briefly about Justice Gbeisay, he kind of breathed life during the into the case of Fanatic Kofa when he was famously recorded in that video where he was in that audio where he was talking about why they couldn't attend the sona of President Bouaka. I want to take a listen. So he said that after that, when the case came before the justice, the Chief Justice or the bench, he was the only person who gave a dissenting opinion, and many saw it that he was applying for being Chief Justice. Well, he's appointed, but I want to play what some people started to call liquor talk. Take a listen.
Some time ago, when we the national for the president address, they begin more of a news and the address itself. That was the common way of trying to avoid getting involved in potential conflict. You remember the conflict going at the House, the Supreme Court, when they appeared before us. We made a decision, and the effect of that decision was that, look, our law required that the House should have a quorum, and that quorum should be presided over by a speaker. Now that you, the quote-unquote majority black, have a quorum, but we don't see a speaker there, so whatever you do is ultra-viral. Otherwise, it's illegal. We turn to the minority black, the law says until you can get majority, you get quorum, you continue to adjourn from day to day and compare the other people to join. But there is no statute that tells you how you will compare the people. You don't have a rule that tells you how you will compare the people. So you two will remain there until you get majority. Whatever you do is ultra-viral. So on the both sides, the Supreme Court was clearly saying that go and solve your problem. We don't have law to that effect. We don't have our own. We're not in control of politics. If for some reason the Senate decided to recognize majority black, President recognize majority black, and government function is going on, then we receive an invitation from the Speaker. Our question is, our presence there means that we are recognized one side of the black. So the best thing to do was to remain who we are. That was the rationale. Many people don't understand, but that was the rationale of the court.
Dr. Pearson, what is your first your reaction to the nomination of the Chief Justice?
Thank you, Venice. And when I first saw the appointment letter this morning, the first thing that ran to my mind was to see and look to see if there was any publication of the retirement of Chief Justice the current Chief Justice, because the Constitution is clear that the president can appoint if there's vacancy. As far as I'm concerned, there's no vacancy for that position as we speak. Even though the Constitution, Article 72B, provides for the retirement of the justices at the age of 70, but it also provides that they may hold on to their position if they have work on the table to clear, and then at their choosing. So I did not see that a notice on the Chief Justice being retired or having been retired. So I think there are two things on my mind, quite frankly. Is one, are we going to see another Rick Monroe, Liberian call another Halubalu in Liberia again, constitutionally? Or I pray that there is some form of coordination going on in the back, because the Constitution also provides a coordination between the branches of government. So I will hope that President Boyka and Chief Justice, you have been talking to the extent that Chief Justice, you all know that it takes time. It's a process to go through confirmation here and all of that, and before then, everything would have settled down before the confirmation of that appointment by the Senate. If not, definitely we'll see some problem coming up again, especially that we are hearing that the Unity Party, through the government of the Republic of Liberia, currently doesn't want to have her preside over a politically motivated case that we've been saying relating to Samuel Tuwe.
Right. And Chief Justice, yeah, but it's a process though, so you can nominate and then wait until she's finally out, and then he can take his seat.
Yeah.
But is he? I mean, something came up. Hold on one second. So what do you think is driving this decision?
Well, I think it's the Constitution. Quite frankly, like I said, and let me read it verbatim for our audience, those who don't have video. Article 1986 Constitution, Article 72B says the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court and judges of subordinate courts of record shall be retired at the age of 70, provided, however, that a justice of judge who has attained that age may continue in office for as long as may be necessary to enable him to render judgment or perform any other judicial duty in regard to proceedings entertained by him before he attained that age. So yeah, the Constitution provides that the president has the power to appoint, and then the Chief Justice Constitution provides that he should retire at the age of 70. And so that Yo has hit that age. She just celebrated her birthday. She celebrated her 70th. So President Burger feels he has the right to appoint someone to that position. But again, there's no vacancy announced. You muted, Dennis.
Something funny came up when another person came out. They said, "Oh, in fact, the Chief Justice is not 70 years; she will be 70 next month. I mean, next year." So that's a whole lot of things. But there's some confusion there about some of the link people are not getting on. So let me take some time and kind of resend this. I don't know why there's so much confusion.
So why you saying that link? Let me be propounding on this.
Yeah, but who is Chief Justice or Associate Justice Yomi Kwekwe Gbeisay? What do you know about him?
Interesting, Gbeisay. It's interesting. It was interesting to note that Gbeisay was first appointed by Ellen to this same whole thing about George and stuff like that. And then not only that, he ran on CDC ticket in Nima County, I think for other representative or senator position. All right, on CDC ticket. And then later on, he got appointed to as justice by the CDC administration. And then and now that he's been appointed as Chief Justice, I hear CDC complaining. So it's kind of a confusing why they complaining at this point when President Weah was the one that appointed this man to the position of Chief of Justice, Associate Justice. So I'm not sure why they're complaining. I think what I'm hearing is that they feel that he swapped side and he went on the side of President Boyka. And that happened during the time of the Hus impasse, leadership impasse, when it was believed that he went to President Boyka overnight, and which of course they felt contributed to his dissent, his dissenting opinion on the ruling of the Supreme Court, which contradicted his earlier ruling along with the same Supreme Court on the same case. So the bit of information was asking for clarity, not for people to go and read, and develop a different opinion, but for clarity on the opinion. So I'm not sure why he dissented against his original opinion, other than the fact that he said that the issue that the guys benefited from a budget that was passed by the so-called illegal group were also to the benefit of the Supreme Court. So how can they come now and condemn them to be illegal when they benefited from the budget that they also passed and the Supreme Court benefited from? They took salaries and benefits, but that was not what was before the court. All right. So some people believe that his dissenting view was only intended to water down the pressure that was coming against President Boyka in terms of his not obeying the Supreme Court to begin with, and so to show that Boyka was not actually in error to begin with. But that was just political games, I think.
And you could also say that is a speculation, right? Oh, Gbeisay was on this side, now he got on this other side. Up to this point, but do we know his do we know his some would say judicial philosophy, or how he has been voting, or how he has been deciding cases? Do you have some ideas here as to how he been? What is his leaning?
But it is clear to say that in Liberia, our politics is not based on ideology. Our politics is based on individuals, and that cut across every sector of our government. Whether you're looking at the legislative branch, the judicial branch, the executive branch, everybody in government go after an individual. The individual that holds the sway for the day obviously get the populace support until they begin to blunder, and then people switch sides to whoever our men whereby used to say, I think people that say where the sun shine, that where our men hang their clothes. That's the kind of politics we're doing in Liberia. So I wouldn't imagine that Gbeisay is a conservative or a liberal judge. They just go with his way. And I think besides that, he's one of those, from the time I've been observing, he just go with the letter of the law as much as it has not been influenced by any outside force. He goes by the letter of the law. Majority of them do the same. Other than that, it goes to say that our people usually with wrong judgments, and we have seen in the past based on how corrupt the system is in terms of people paying for justice. This is something we have seen a lot. Another thing I should mention here, Dennis, and this has been long-standing in our Liberian society, where we shy away from saying it, but there's this thing about the UBF, right, the Freemasons in Liberia that have had a stronghold on our judiciary system for a long time. I remember during the Tolbert administration where my eye opened when it comes to the law issue. People went to court and they threw sand and cases got solved. You know what I'm talking about? Some cases that couldn't get caught in the court were caught in the UBF, the Freemasons temple. That's where they went to set up cases that couldn't be resolved easily on the outside that were highly political. So yeah, these things do play, and I wouldn't say that he has a political ideology or a judicial ideology other than the letter of the law when individual politics is not playing.
Thank you. And how do we? Because already there people are saying, "Hey, this case, as the fire instance, how do we see Justice or Chief Justice Gbeisay, presiding over such a case? Where do you think his first of all? I mean, he's the Chief Justice, so he has to. If that case goes before the full bench, he has to preside, right? What is the likelihood that justice will be blind?
A lot of people now want to admit it, like Lynn here, Lapo is arguing about evidence to some of the things we're saying. It's a fact that George Gbeisay was the only justice that went to President Bouaga House during the leadership impasse. Even though he did not go in, he didn't go there in his official vehicles, but he did go to President Bouaga House during one of the events. In fact, we're looking to see that all of the other justices would have gone there, including Chief Justice Yaw, but she avoided that on the basis of the argument that there will be considered political interest being played. Gbeisay did go there. I live in District 6, and there where I'm based, where President Bouaga got his property as well. And we get information from our people there, and that will even verify by other curious media institutions that went to dig behind that overnight visit. Now, but does that mean to say that he is compromised? No, I think we had a national issue. We're trying to wrap their head around finding a solution. So probably he went there to see if they can come up with some, hang their head and come up with some solutions to the problem, and then he would take the information back to a colleague. So I wouldn't quickly say, oh, he got compromised because of that visit to President Bouaga. There were others who visited President Bouaga on other occasions that he visited, even lawmakers. So during the conflict, so I wouldn't just blindly accuse him of being compromised. But I would say that in Liberia we say where there's fire, where there's smoke, then there's fire. That's the reason why it is very important for us to demonstrate as much as possible a sense of neutrality when these things are happening, because integrated institutions like the High Court, the Supreme Court, those are places that people go to find redress when it comes to issues of the law. And the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of justice. If there's any sense or semblance of any form of compromise at the Supreme Court, it jeopardizes major cases that will go before it. Whether the person is compromised or not, the public opinion will define their own views on those matters.
Thank you. Let me welcome the lawyer's daughter and the chump's mother, Glendy Jean Jr. Welcome, Glendy. We're talking about Justice Gbeisay, right? Some describe him as the least experienced, or he is new on the bench. And I mean, that should factor in? Should that matter? Or what do you think President Bouaka is looking at to nominate Justice Gbeisay?
So hello everybody. Hi Dr. Pearson. It's been a minute.
Yeah, Glenn, it's nice seeing you.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't want to give an opinion about Justice Gbeisay, because if we're talking about someone with no experience, then Ellen Johnson Sirleaf would not have used him. Neither would George Weah have used him. So I don't really know what his qualifications are, but clearly you can just say, even if you want to do it literally ABC way, if the fact that two other presidents worked with him and now the third president is working with him, I don't have a problem with what it is. Plus, he's already on the bench, and he's somebody that one of the justices, I think, if not the justice, I think Paul Brule has spoken a lot about him, I think, in recent times. So he's already on the bench. I wouldn't say that he didn't have the qualification, because I don't know that much about him, but I just go off the basis that he's worked with two other presidents, and I think he meets the criteria.
Right. So let's look at this. I played a tape from the beginning where Justice Gbeisay was in Nimba and said, hey, here's the reason we couldn't go, because this group is illegal. But when it came down to the wire, he dissented. Did you see that as flip-flopping, or was he consistent, Glendy?
I don't think it was flip-flopping. I think he was consistent. People look at that and want to cite and want to put him on the fact like probably he's with the president, but that should tell you, I mean, he was upfront. He said the reason why, if he was in the president's pocket, then he probably would not have said that. Now, whether that was a deviation so that people would think that he doesn't support President Bouaka, that's different. But when people know him to be a seditious, he ran on the CDC people ticket before. So I don't think that. I think that was just who he was.
Did he backpedal?
Okay. Say that again.
Did he backpedal? Because he was the one. I mean, the case was almost there, right? When he breathed life into it and say, "Hey, the reason we didn't go because the Kun group is illegal. The legal group did not have quorum, right? So it was based on that they explained, almost restating that same position that, hey, you're illegal. So how will he come back and then say, oh no? I mean, in fact, when he dissented, he said, if you think they're illegal, then why you took money from them? Why you ate the money, right? Yeah. So that's why I said, do you think he backpedaled for this job? He was auditioning to be Chief Justice. That's what people are accusing him of.
Anything's possible. I mean, there are things that's a possibility, because people would think that initially he sided with his colleagues and then later on he changed his mind. So, I mean, people do things for different reasons. I would want to think that being a lawyer, that he would do things for the right reason. So I don't want to think that he backpedaled. I just think that the circumstances at the time called for that. A lot of people was questioning why they weren't there and what was their stance. And so he was the one that came and spoke out. And maybe later on he looked at it all and said, this was the situation. I'm trying to be fair here with the justice.
Right. Yeah. And Dr. Pearson, he probably got more information, and of course the wise man changes.
Like I mentioned earlier, the Bureau of Information did not seek a re-adjudication of the matter. The Bureau of Information asked for clarity on their initial position, and he was the one who came to the public and provided the clarity on the initial ruling. So all he had to do was to stick to his initial ruling. His dissent, like I mentioned earlier, went went away from the initial ruling and border on the fact that he was arguing that if the other lawmakers, along with the judiciary and the executive branch, all the other branches of government, ate from the very budget that they said was illegal, then it questions the very thesis that the group was illegal. But that was not the argument. But again, like I said, that flip-flopping came after his interaction with President Boycott. That flip-flopping came after he was bamboozled by for the family and called him liquor talk. So one, like I said, the public will have an opinion that he probably got compromised with his interaction with the president, but we don't have all of the facts in hand to say for sure that he is compromised. But again, it goes to say that his action provide room for us to get the kind of opinion that we have of him right now, and for the public to be skeptical of the pay to play like they are seeing it now. To me, it's like a pay to play. You know,
what kind of Chief Justice do we expect Justice Gbeisay to be, Glendy, and who we think going to be the next Associate Justice to be nominated by President Boycott?
I don't know who's going to be nominated. I'm sure there are a lot of.
You have any name in mind to put forward?
No, I would hope that he picks a woman. I hope that he picks another woman to replace Justice Yo. I mean, replace the women position, not necessarily her, because she was Chief Justice. But I don't have anybody on mind right now. We have a lot of young lawyers, but I'm sure they're pretty qualified and they can learn at work. So I don't think so. I would hope with all of the things that people are saying right now, you anticipate that Justice Gbeisay will side on the government's, will be on the government side. Because people are now saying, oh, one of the reasons why he was nominated is because he's against the Fonatikofa's case. But I will hope he will be a justice that would. We've come off the backdrop where during the George Weah era, it was difficult to get the Supreme Court. So people felt that they sided with the George Weah government because he had the bench. I would hope that he would bring some focus on the legality as a whole and not focus on partisanship. That's what we're looking for. We're at a place, at a crossroads now in Liberia, where we want to ensure that people are doing things that are right and they're not doing it because of favoritism. So I hope he does that.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, what kind of Chief Justice do we expect Dr. Justice Gbeisay will be, and especially when you reflect on his history?
Judge Gbeisay has been, like I mentioned earlier, he's a very quiet going woman. People who know Judge Gbeisay back in the day will notice that you can better find any story like you can hear other judges behind Judge Gbeisay. Very quiet going woman. But another thing about Gbeisay is that I would think
the people will sue you for agency more. Oh man.
You know, right? And they don't want to pass 79, but no problem with honor. But yeah, so I would think he would make a good justice on the overall. But I think when it comes to his relationship to President Boycott, it's understood that he will be biased, and his bias will come in on the fact that he will be in sympathy with President Boycott. If that was not the case, President Boycott would not have appointed him. Don't forget that President Boycott is of the old mindset. He is from that way 19 mindset where winners take all kind of a mindset. That's President Boycott mentality.
But that is typical of every president to appoint Chief Justice who will be on your side. Like we see here, Trump will appoint conservative judges and stuff like that.
You see, that's where democracy gets broken. So look here in the United States of America. When you have a legislative branch that is a rubber stamp, and then you have a judicial branch that becomes a rubber stamp, it is a recipe for chaos. So it doesn't help the country. So, but I know President Boycott coming from the PRC regime to now, that same mentality was in the PRC regime. President Boycott and his whole PRC group, they eliminated everybody that could have eliminated once they were not in line with what they wanted to achieve. We come to President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf again. President Burger has the same mentality. You see him taking over power, the same thing. He clearing house, getting rid of people that he feels are not politically aligned with him, trying to get his own people, along to align with him. So Gbeisay will do well on the overall, but I think when it comes to critical cases where President Burger's interest lies, he will definitely give into President Burger.
And who you think going to be the next person on the bench? That President Burger, or who will you nominate? I have my nomination.
Listen, President Burger, Central Bank Governor from Lofa. President Burger defense group that Lofa. Solicitor General that Lofa. Everything else you can think about that Lofa. The next Associate Justice will be a Lofian, because Lofa is not represented on that bench. I think we got 2 persons from Monserrato. We got one from Nima. Gbeisay is from Nima. I think we got somebody from another country. Then there's no Lofian there. President Burger going to put a Lofian there. I would have thought. Yeah, go ahead.
Who will you prefer? Who will you nominate? Because I have my nomination.
So who are you nominating?
I want PSM to go first.
Actually, to be very frank with you, I really don't have anybody in mind. You see, Liberia. Liberia.
You say you don't have anybody. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't have any. Let me tell you why I don't have anybody in mind, right?
Okay.
You see, people who has those kind of titles, those kind of positions are for stand out judges. When we say stand out judges who are laid some mark that even when you're sleeping, when they wake you up, they call that judge name. That name will ring in your mind based on historical and based on high-profile cases that they have presided over with integrity, so that you trust that when that person is at that highest level, you're confident in their performance. We don't have those kind of judges in Liberia. Majority of the judges we have in Liberia that the judges who sat there, they collected $1 million worth of cocaine. They passed through, they put it FOC for it with money attached to it. You carry it to the court, the people go free. You got a guy who went and almost killed a Liberian child, caught the person through almost to the point of death, went to case with the evidence, the weapon, everything, the murder weapon, the attempted murder weapon. The person still walk away and leave the country. You have judges who sign for people, and then overnight the government to the person and get over to a foreign junta, and then the junta is believed to have murdered the person. So which are the judges in Liberia that I know that have a repetition? It's not there. It's not at the top of my head. You see, it's not there. It's out of our country.
Right. I would nominate Councilor Mbaliwana, look, of the Heritage Law Firm. I think he would make a good associate justice.
Okay, but has Mbaliwana been a judge in Liberia?
No, I don't know if we have a history hold on, Dr. Pearson, you asked. The bench, we don't have a history of appointing judges on the bench. So I think because of his integrity, I was going to nominate Councillor Gonglo as well, but he's closer to 70. So that may not be a good pick.
If I may not, let me say this, Dennis. There is a difference between a prosecutor, a defender, a defense lawyer, a prosecuting lawyer, criminal lawyer, and there's a difference between a judge. People who serve all of their professional, the apex of the professional career as a sitting judge, has a greater purview as to how to approach that position of the justices when you give them that role, as compared to a prosecutor or a defense counsel. So Liberia is just a unique country. I don't understand how.
I don't think we should. Do you know that to even be on the bench, you don't have to be a lawyer?
You don't have to, but you don't have to be a judge. You don't even have to be a
lawyer. You don't have to be a lawyer.
Who said that, Dennis? Who said that?
There's no constitutional requirement that you have to be
There's nothing.
Because you saying there's no constitutional provision that you have to be a judge to be there, but that's not the fact, Dennis.
No, but let me read what Article 68. Article 68 of the 1986
you don't have to be a lawyer.
Constitution.
I can be on the Supreme Court bench tomorrow if I'm nominated.
You have to be a constitutional lawyer.
No, but it says here, Dennis, the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court and judges of the subordinate courts of record shall be citizens of Liberia of good moral character and of proven integrity, who are licensed counselors of the Supreme Court bar
That's
and
right.
have
You gotta be
practiced
one.
law in Liberia for at least 7
Okay.
years prior to their appointment. So they don't have to be a judge. You just
No,
have
they
to
don't
be
have
a
to be.
lawyer.
It would be better if it would be nice if they are judges, but they don't have to be. That's
They
not a
don't have to
requirement.
be.
All right.
Well,
They
I
just
think
need
I
to
will be
practice for
taking that.
7 years
I
as a
think I'll be
lawyer,
taking that
have their
with
own
the
practice
U.S.
in
with
that.
the U.S. Constitution.
So I accept the clarity that you guys are providing, that you don't have to be a judge, but you have to be a legal counsel, correct?
Yes, you
You know
gotta be
what?
a
Right.
counselor, a member of the bar, have
Right.
your own practice serve for 7 years,
Right.
and then you can be. Being a lawyer for 7 years, not necessarily your own practice, but you've been a lawyer for 7 years.
Glenn, what do you think, before we leave, what do you think factor into this age 70 as being a time for lawyers or justices to retire? Especially when in Labrador, when you fought your youth.
I mean, I think you already pressed on it. Somebody earlier today we were talking about why is it in the Constitution that it even says man, not woman. 70, maybe they equated 70 the age to wisdom. Who knows? Maybe the older you are, the wise, the more wise you are. Maybe that's why.
Most of the time, our people make laws by looking at individuals, just like how they made the code of conduct when they were looking at male Jones. But let's move on today. Today was the memorial for the late President William R. Tolbert. And I saw also the tech team. So the group, they call them the April 22nd Memorial Group. They've been doing this, for a long time now. And first of all, let me get it straight. Was it for President Tolbert or for President Tolbert and the tech team? I know President Bouaka was kind of concentrating on President Tolbert, but the entire program was for 14, correct?
So the program today was for President Tolbert. I know the family, they've been working on this thing for a while. And of course, the 13 was there. But the proclamation today, according to the Liberian government, was to be able to do the assume the body of President Tolbert. This is not the end. This committee has been working for a while, and they're also looking at reburying each of those 13 men that was on the pole. Right now, their processes in the way of doing testing and different things to make sure that each person there, they have their bones that are matched and they'll be able to bury them. So today was for President Tolbert, but it was not just for it. The program did not only include him, it also included the other 13, and their pictures and other things were shared. The families were there.
Was there a confusion on the side of the president or as to what really he was there for?
I don't think there was a confusion because the program clearly talked about President Tolbert, and President Tolbert thing doing the prior to the program today, President Barker already knew. I think he was the one also that suggested that he wanted to be able to rebury President Doe and President Tolbert. So I don't think there was a confusion on his part. He knew why he was there. His speech he gave clearly only mentioned President Tolbert.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Dr. Pearson, what's your reaction to today's program? In many quarters, President Bouaka has been hailed for finally closing this chapter in the history of the country, reburying or memorializing President Doe and President Tolbert.
I think it is safe to say the three things I would like to point out. I think it is safe for me to say that that there's nothing wrong with family members who want to acknowledge or remember their loved ones. But for what I'm hearing people say rebury, that there's no reburial taking place with President Doe. There's no reburial taking place with President Tolbert or the 13 men who died on the poles. We don't even have their remains. Like Lenny said, we are yet to even identify their remains. So what are you reburying?
So they do have some though. They do have some at Moses.
Yeah, but it is not identified. You got remains that you dug up from the grave, but you don't have remains that identify and say, yeah, this is the remain of Doe, There's the renewal of Tolbert. There's the renewal of XYZ. So
Dr.
what are we
Pearson, Dr.
right?
Pearson, if I can even take sand for my father and I say I'm reburying, that's it.
No,
I don't think
It's
that should be a problem.
symbolic. It's symbolic.
Dennis, there's a reason why we say memorial service, and there's a reason why we say reburial. The word reburial means you have the corpse that was exhumed, and then you're going to bury. Like we did it with this paper here that was buried. Rest our LBS there on we had a football field. Rest our LBS.
I'm not refuting that, Dr. Pearson. I'm also saying, in addition to what you know, if my father who was murdered by LPC, and the farm is closed or something, if I can even go to that site and dig out some earth and I say I'm reburying my father, I don't think you should have a problem with it. It depends on my understanding and how I can bring down his spirit right there and rebury him. I don't think that should be your problem.
Dennis, that was suffering Liberia today. We can make up words to suit what we want to do for political reason. The word reburial means the thing was buried. You pick it from there and you put it somewhere else. You reburied it. That's why reburial means. You can memorialize somebody. You can have a memorial service.
Okay, what is burial?
Service. But let me not waste my time on that.
What is burial? Let's define burial. What is burial?
Burial is depositing your remains in the grave. You have to have a remains to do a burial. If you don't have remains, you don't have a burial.
So what if you take the ashes and scatter in the blue sea? Is that burial?
No, it's not burial.
You
don't call the word. In fact, the word burial means to submerge. That word burial means to submerge. To put the the Baptist say immersion. It means to put in the water.
But when you scatter ashes to that submersion, you put in the ashes in the water. It's the same thing.
You can put a whole urn there. You put a whole urn that will grow you. Then which means you got the person remains as an ashes. You want to put it. I will agree you on that. But this case, let me learn my 3 points. My first point is there's nothing we have right now that is being reburied. That's what I'm saying. We are memorializing them. I will agree when you use that expression that you're memorializing them. You're trying to give them a spot where you can reference that you can look at this and know that the person was given the honors that due them. But this is my second point I wanted to bring up on the table. The second point here is that I strongly frown against the government using public money to spend it on individuals who committed egregious crimes in our country and are not answered for those crimes and giving them flamboyant burials and flamboyant tombs and statues when our people who they suffer and hurt are living in poverty. I got serious problem with that, including myself. The third point I want to stress here, Dennis, is this. Look, listen, I hear people say reconciliation taking place. No, this is not reconciliation. You are satisfying this the same way when the war ended. We gave certain people government position because they were rebels, commanders. That the same thing we're doing so. We giving people this honor because we feel President Bokaffi, he associated with them from his age range. He associated with PRC Door. So he giving PRC Door the recognition. He says he admired Tolbert. So he giving Tolbert the kind of recognition he gave him today. I would prefer that we have a national memorial that covers all the dead, including my father and my brother, whose body cannot be found. Whose bodies cannot be found. And I'm not picking on the 13 men and their family members. Cesar Dennis, my own classmate, that will graduate from high school and grew up together in the same neighborhood. I would like to see him attend that service today and have a nice time there, trying to have a closure. I agree with that. But it should be on his expense, not on public funds. That's what I got problem with.
How much you think the government put in for the memorialization of President Tolbert?
I'm not sure. I think I heard 70,000. I'm not sure. I think it says 70,000 or something like that. To the 13 men said I think that 70,000 contribution. I don't know about doing Tolbert. Only the 13 men. I think it says 70,000 contribution.
Yeah, I think that's what the government gives. Because I want us to talk to. I don't have any figure. I don't know what the government. Besides President Bouaka going to grand jury, I don't know if they the one that kind of bought the casket or did the burial or anything. Do you know? Do you have any information?
Well, our government operating secrecy. So they don't tell us what they are doing. Any information that the entire funeral arrangement was for Prince Johnson was under the government expense. The entire arrangement.
But Prince Johnson, that's a different thing now. Dr.
Yeah,
Pearson, Prince
I'm
Johnson was
talking about those who committed.
no. But Prince Johnson was a sitting senator. You can't. That's something completely different.
Lenny,
If he was not as if he wasn't a senator, that's something different.
Let's take Prince Johnson out. Let's talk about Tolbert.
Yes, let's talk about other things. Let's not talk about Prince Johnson because he was a sitting senator.
Lenny,
the fact that we allowed him to be senator, there were benefits associated with him as a senator, and so he had to enjoy those benefits. That's different. But I wanted to say this.
But let clarify something quick. There is no law that says a sitting senator should be buried by the government of the Republic of Liberia. There's no law that says that. No law.
But you don't even have the facts. You don't even have the fact. You don't even have the extent of what.
I don't want us to deviate.
It's not a law.
Dr. Pearson, let's take Prince Johnson out for now, and talk about President Tolbert and President Doe. Right? We don't know for sure how much the government spent, but
we don't know.
By virtue of President Bouakai going to Grand Judicial, he's spending public money. So by virtue of President Bouakai going to the memorial today, there's public money being spent. So we can quantify. So the point that they are spending public dollar, I agree. We spend money. What should be the criteria, according to you, for memorializing a former president? Dr. Pearson.
Well, I would like to see the president act, if we have any. I would like to see an act of the legislature that will clarify these things. And I'm saying this out of a clear conscience. I'm not holding any grudge.
What would be your criteria?
Listen, that's what I'm saying. I would like to see an act of the legislature to clarify those things. That's how civil life society should function. Because, and I would like to see conditional contribution as well. So, for instance, what would disqualify a person from getting those benefits? It should be laid out.
It's not there.
If somebody can kill my brother, kill my sister, and then because they were president, by matter of force over me, Prince Johnson, for that matter, my sister Clinton, Prince Johnson was not voted into the Senate by me. He was voted there by Nimbayans who felt that he was their hero. He's not my hero. No.
Okay, you're not answering my question, so I'll go to Glendy. I'm saying to you, what should be the criteria for burying a
There should be an act.
There is no act. There is no act right now.
I can say that, Dennis.
You have problem with the reburial. You have problem with the memorialization, right? So that's why I'm asking you, what do you think the criteria should be?
Dennis, my problem is not with government spending money to give state funeral or burial to a needed government official who passed away.
No, I'm talking about former president.
I just want to get something. I don't have problem with government spending money for that purpose. There could be multiple reasons why it will happen. I'm just saying to you, don't use state money on people who bear egregious crimes against Liberian people when they are poor and spend the money on those kind of individuals. That's what I'm saying to you. Prince Johnson is a rich man. Samuel Doe was a millionaire. At the expense of Liberian people, Liberian people stay poor.
I don't know why you're dodging this question. Let me go to Glendy.
I said we need an act of legislature. With
the government reburying President Doe. So I'm asking you what you think the criteria is. You say, oh no, we need an act. That means you don't have anything. You don't have anything. Glendy, it's controversial, right? I read the statement of the son of the late Flazamitan. And I've seen other posts on Facebook saying that why are they doing this for former President Doe? This man, he committed so many crimes. He did all these bad things. First when he came to power at the barrel of the gun, and then he started to eliminate some of his people from West End to Podia, and on and on and on, culminating into the Civil War, where he completely lost his mind, right? So the question is, a man of that, should we do this because he's former president? If the answer is no, what should qualify for that state burial or that memorialization?
So I wanted to say one or two things before I answer that question. Okay, but I also want to say to Dr. Pearson that reconciliation is subjective and is based on how that individual feels. I talked about today that my uncle was one of the 13th on the poll that was killed. And for a long time,
What's
like
his name?
Charles D.B. King, he was married to my aunt,
Oh,
Charles
okay.
D.B. King. For a long time, people have wanted to
Charles
have
D.B.
some
King was part of the
13th. He was part of the 13 men that was on the poll.
that's
Charles
the
D.B. King. He was representative at the time for Nima County.
oh, okay.
So a long time people have wanted some form of closure, something that they can look forward to. I don't blame President Barker. I don't think it's political. Because there are people, yes, we want to equate everything to politics, but if their family members were planning this, and this is something too that President Weah was initially, because I heard today that initially the polls that they used today was actually rooted up by President Weah's government working along with this committee. So the fact that this committee was working before Barker came working on this is something that I don't think has a political connotation, but because Barker is president, we will say that. I also want to say that the service today was solemn because it included President Tolbert and it included the others. Now, we should not get into the gimmicks of what's reburial, what's not reburial. Reburial is what I decide my family wants to do. If the English is wrong, then it's wrong. But the fact that symbolically, the casket, symbolically there was a casket to be able to go in the ground. That's a form, that's in for formality's sake, that's a form of reburial. So I think doing that now, President Barker can make a determination on why, and a lot of people will not agree, Dennis, on why President Dole, why he extended that favor to him. There are nothing on the books that say how these people should be buried or whether the government should take care. I will say that there are benefits that they have that they get a portion to help them with, because I know that because when my father died as Associate Justice of Liberia, there was a portion based on his pension that was given to assist with his burial. But what I want to say is we all will not agree, but we cannot ignore the fact that what was done today and what has been done has never been done before. So that for me starts the process of reconciliation. Does that mean that there's not going to be war crimes court? To me, there should still be war crimes court. People should still be punished for what they did. But I think as it relates to the reburial of President Tolbert, the service and everything that had, I think it was also, I feel it was also because he was killed. He was murdered. Seneca was also murdered. He was a president. I can't answer that, but I just think that I don't think there were bad things. I don't think the gesture for President Barker to do, I don't think it's something bad, because it's almost like acknowledging everyone's hurt, acknowledging everyone's pain, and saying, listen, at one point in time, we had this. Let's see what we can do to come together, right or wrong, to be able to forge ahead. That's what I think about what happened.
I believe that there is no action of a president that is not going to be political. I mean, you're in a political office, so you're going to do things right. So whether political or not political, you have to work. Your entire work is political. That's why you are there. So, but from what I've been gathering, people are hurt by almost all presidents, and you cannot measure or minimize the hurt other people feel. Before the show, I was having a conversation with Dr. Pearson, like, let's say one president killed one person, the other president killed 200%. In their presidency, somebody is hurt. So I think the issues are very complex, and there is no way you can have any memorial without somebody being hurt, without somebody having a problem with that. So that itself is a political activity. I think we should understand that. And indeed, people are going to contest these kind of gestures. Dr. Pearson, do you agree that? I mean, you can't have even Tolbert, as much as is almost the consensus president of being one of the best, still people have problem with him. People who lost relatives and friends during 79 still saying he was responsible. The killing of the so-called Bojo in Maryland County, people say that was political and they were not given fair trial, and they still have that against him. And all these different things, even things that they did in the discharge of their functions of their duties as president, people question that. So there will still be somebody who is not satisfied. But because a woman died at childbirth, should we, stop sleeping with our wives? Definitely not. Life has to go on. What says you?
Yeah, Dennis, you made some good points. And Glennie, I just want to say my condolence to you and your family on your loss, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I have no issue with the 13 men that were put on the pole, and their family trying to remember them, right? Got no issue with that. Again, let me say this. Then you made a very good point. I feel our problem in Liberia is that, and you're right. No matter who you are, we're not perfect people, so we have our flaws. But a lot of times we do things, we don't put a lot of thought into it, right? Like you mentioned earlier, some of these things are political. People get into office in political office, and because they are in a political office, they take advantage of situation because it's politics. Who would not want to play politics to get advantage and to get ahead of the game? We understand that. But we need to put a lot of thought into something. You said there's no way you can have a memorial and people will not get vexed. No, Dennis, you can have a memorial for the nation and nobody will get vexed because your memorial will be inclusive. We went to Ghana for a peace accord. The government, the lucrative government position in Liberia was distributed among warlords. They came and got politically empowered. They became the richest people in Liberia. They were flaunting, and they are still flaunting with wealth amongst the people who they hurt, and the people still poor, and they are the millionaires. Then to make matter worse, there's over 25 plus years, nobody has been held accountable for the crimes they committed. And then the very people who committed the crimes are getting decent burial, where other poor families cannot be found, who lie in cotton tree, or soaking the rubber farm, Fender, Waterside, Mount Barclay Highway, and other highways. People, parents, and relatives are lying in slums, and nobody can find them. Then you give in the people who hurt those people, who caused that the demands of the people defeating burial. What kind of a reconciliation is that? That's not right. You are only creating more hurt. That's what it is. So I will say this, Dennis. Listen, look at the PHP pack. A lot of people don't recognize that when that PHP pack was constructed, it was meant to be called a unity pack with the backdrop of the same 13 men Glennie talking about. I wrote an article and I praised that pack for the fact that it changes the mindset of the people. When I drive at that PHP pack, it changed my mindset of what I imagined took place there. It becomes a more inviting space. That's a form of healing. But you go give President a parade through the principal streets, who have hurt people and who can find on a parent's body. You carry empty casket, spending public money on empty casket, calling it reburial. I got issue with that, and you can't blame me for having issue with that. And then the last thing I want to say,
I want to inject before you conclude.
Yeah,
even there are some people who are offended by by that park, right? They say, but what's about my father? What's about me? I also lost people because during that 1980 or coup d'etat, there were people that were defending President Tolbert, including soldiers from Grand Gide, right? Why are they not remembered? Some may say. Why only the elite 13? So there, as I said earlier, people are going to be hurt anyway. What do we do? Hold on. These issues are complex. And when it comes to the loss of life, there is no one single life is better or more important than the other, right? So why people are saying other people died in 1980? In fact, people were even saying that the people were not remembering President Tolbert. They were remembering the 13 more than they remember President Tolbert. That was the criticism. And it came back to say, some were suggesting that because the old guards, they told President Tolbert, don't do this. So they were blaming him for the loss, for the death of the 13. And so they didn't really care about him as much as they care about the 13. So if you visit PHP and see just 13, what about the rest of the people that died that night, April 12, 1980, to April 22, 1980. What happened to them?
They will be just the same thing as saying what will happen again. You remember we had our camera here, Dr. Weah, who mentioned that he did an assessment of memorials that were already constructed across Liberia, and how those memorials are creating tension. So
exactly, that's my point.
We need right. President Booker would do well if we had. I heard on Spoon Network. Sorry to mention here, but I heard on Spoon Network, and that I think Glennie can help me if I'm mistaken. That in July there's another memorial for everybody else who passed away. Right, Glennie, am I correct?
Yeah. So the president did announce that on Saturday. That's, I think it was also on the website there when the executive manager, President Booker, is going to have a memorial service, National Day, for all, including the 13, including the 250, everyone who have died during the coup, during the war, whatever time we had that we can look back at as a wartime. On July 5th at 10 a.m., there will be a service.
So then my question to President Booker, if any official listening here, how many dollars are they going to send me so I can bring my grandchildren and myself to Liberia, the people at that occasion?
You don't have to go there like me. I'm going to be watching from here. You can watch down.
Glennie, I want a grand star. I want a grand star parade where I can have my
You're not going to get Liberia listed.
Then they say I want my part old t-shirt or shirt and my brother's shirt and trouser, and I want to put in one back stool. And I want to parade from all the way Broad Street, come to ERL Junction, Pinsway to GSA Road, and then before I go to my own spot, and I put an empty casket there. You see what we're talking about here? So the disparity. We should have had a dialogue on how to go about these things. We should have had a national dialogue as to how to. We need to talk into some of these things like Dennis said. It's complex.
And the TRC has laid that down already. And that's the problem I have with President Booker, because it's like he's doing this thing haphazardly. As somebody described President Doe's speech, he said he's just like a little child who is playing ball. You kick the ball, you don't know where it's even going, right? He's adding these pieces to it. This should have been his.
So there's a whole committee, Dennis. There's a whole planning committee for these things that are going on. There is a whole committee.
Glennie, what I'm saying here is you cannot come up, have Doe funeral, have Tolbert funeral. Then when we start crying, say, oh, your way are coming for your too.
No.
That's the thing. Because this is a managed projects. You have to do things. You have to have strategic, plan of things. And now's that plan. Let's see what it is. You can do a bit, trickle bit by bit, drip, right? You're doing this thing when people cry, then you bring another one, then you bring another one, then you bring another one. They should have been part of a complete package that he laid out to the people. This is what we are going to do. This is where we are starting. This is where we are going. We don't have that. So now he's only responding to our criticism, which is a good thing, that he's listening. But he has to take responsibility that we can't go like this.
You're assuming that he's responding to your criticism. That's an assumption.
Glennie, what else do I have to say? Did you hear anything until he went to Grand Jury? Nothing. So that should have been part of a package. What is he doing? Even the speech that he's giving now, that should have been something that he said to the people. So you move the people along. You don't do it, and then when we cry, then you start doing something. It's one baby step, but we should acknowledge that President Booker needs a complete plan. Is this part of national reconciliation?
That is true.
What is he doing? Don't do bits and pieces. We like it because we have to start from somewhere.
Yeah, you see that's what I don't like. Look, don't give somebody credit for misstep. Then they will have more missteps to carry.
Misstep. You can point out the misstep.
Dennis,
acknowledge the baby step.
Exactly. But you don't want to acknowledge everything, and it's not going to start from the ground where and be perfect.
Yeah, the Glennie, people don't get into a high level of responsibility like this and then operate on try and error. Oh, I try it in work, I fail, I try again. No, the asset recovery team, the same thing. The appointment of the War Crimes Court executive director to begin with the office, the same thing. the issue with the 285 mission, the same thing. We always allow people to have this haphazard approach to things. Then we say, oh, you know, they try, they did well. Like, we never want to walk on Lone Star, never want to walk on. Everything we did well trophy, did well trophy. No, our leaders should take governing serious, Glenny. Glenny, listen, man, I heard you today on Spoon. You said how you got a sense of relief by following that event that was connected to your loss. You participated in it and you felt a sense of closure. You felt moved in your soul, in your spirit. You attached to it. They want to come in here in July. That I even said no about. I just heard it today when you were talking on Spoon. When we are getting plane now to buy my ticket to go there to go be a part of it so I can get that closure to my brother.
But you can also be positive about it, and then you can watch it like I'm gonna watch it. Dennis, I wish maybe we should even come on focus and let's do it together. That would be participating in the reconciliation process. I get that. And Dennis, I agree with you. There has to be a plan.
Look, I was hurting even when I was watching this.
Yes. Exactly. I spoke to one of my sisters today, and I told my father it doesn't have any grave.
Right.
And so one of our concerns was exactly what you said. Clearly, this is a good step, but I hope that there is a plan. And that plan, according to her, that plan should include not just people of the government, it should include TRC, it should include other organizations that have worked with this before. It should even include people from Sierra Leone because they've done this. It should include a lot of people to come together and say, what is the way forward? Because if you've done all this reburial stuff and you've done these two things, and then after a month or 2 months, there is no plan, then that would have been a mockery of the process. And I hear what you're saying. I also hope, and like I said, I'm at a place 45 years ago. I think I was about 9 or 10 years old. I can still vividly remember them coming and arresting my father and taking him. And my aunt crying when she heard that when she was on her way to Poststockade, and on her way was when her husband she heard that they had just killed them. I still remember that, but I'm at a place now, 45 years ago, I'm ready to move on. And I think this is something that's over us that continue to hold us down. So we want to constructively and speak, constructively tell the government to do better. But even if they're not doing better, we cannot continue to hold ourselves in a space of sadness. We got to be able to move on.
Right. And Glendy, let's take the 13th, for instance. The very horrible thing that we all witnessed, that we saw or heard. Horrible, and that should not happen to anybody's father or uncle or anyone, right? But they have the resources to organize for their parents since for a very long time, okay, because they were killed publicly. My father was killed alone. The only time they discovered he was tied, and there was a short cutlass next to him. Whether that's why they used to kill him, we don't know, right? When is President Bouaka going to acknowledge that? When is President Weah was the one who gave the polls to the 13? Who is going to give that rope that they used to tie my father? Who is going to give that to me? So these are hurtful times in Liberia.
Exactly.
So we should proceed in a way that people feel, because just like Dr. Pearson said, when the war was over, they divided the jobs. Now we still see General Joshua Bly and the rest of the people. We saw how Prince Johnson lived in luxury. We saw George Bowley elected. All these people, and it still continues. So we must have a plan, and all Liberians must be part of that plan so that we can move on. Plenty, I want Dr. Pearson, 30 seconds for us to conclude on this topic, and we move to Yekeh.
No, fair enough, Dennis. Fair enough. I think Glennie has a point. We all want to move on, but I refuse to put a band-aid on the infected soul and think I'm moving on. I'm not going to move on, right? Because every now and then, President Bouaka will move the bandage again so I can see the soul. He said, "Move the bandage to pick one mega from there to go bury it. Then you put the bandage back on again. Then I'll be carrying the same soul." No, we should address the thing in a holistic manner. In a way that, first of all, let me close my 30 seconds by saying this, Dennis. I would have loved to have seen in a funeral that the Doe family will apologize publicly to the Liberian people for what their family did to the Liberian people. I would have
who's gonna
loved to see that.
institute that? Who's gonna make them do that? The government can force them to do that.
I'm not
That's
saying government
something
force
that's
them.
the Doe people are not even working together. They already have a split. So who are you holding responsible for them to come forward
President
as
Joseph Yemo
adults and
Brother.
say, I'm sorry?
President Joseph Brother who brought it up to begin
You
with.
can't make them to do it if they don't
Yeah,
recognize that is what they're supposed
because
to do.
that was the essence of the TRC process.
No, you
That
can't
was
make them to do
the
it.
essence of the TRC process was for the perpetrators and the victims to meet and to iron their differences. That has not happened. People boasting about their crimes, and now they come back and we reward them for their crimes. That's what I'm saying. When will they apologize before we keep giving them public money? Saying I will
Who
close
are
on
you
that.
expecting to apologize to?
Thank
The
you.
Liberian
Doe
people.
is dead.
The
Who are
Liberian
you
people.
expecting to apologize? The Liberian people should apologize for Doe.
No.
Or
The
Doe
families,
children.
the families should be just listen, Glenny. When Mommy Donen, when Mommy and Veronica Donen came to Liberia, well, some also on Facebook, hailing them and welcoming them back home because we knew how it felt for them to be out of the country for so long. The same way we are victims, we are welcoming them. Today, if you look at another post of mine, I am so excited to see she and other look-alike those son, supposedly those son hanging out, and I was so excited to see them.
I don't know
Right?
why you're hating on this kid.
So at the end of the day, I'm saying that the same way I'm willing to receive them, they should be willing to acknowledge the wrong of their family. There's nothing wrong with that. They do have a head of their
I
family.
get that, but they have to be convicted that is needed to do that.
Yeah,
They're not convicted yet to say that we need to apologize. They think that we owe them a responsibility to accept them, and they don't think, and because they feel they're not responsible for the sins of their father.
Right.
So you
this
can't
come
hold them
to tell us,
responsible.
this come to tell all of us that we as the people we have not healed. We may pretend,
True.
we may turn the page, even though we have not read that page, but the country has not healed. And the result of the 14-year war is still after us. Yesterday, I had an exclusive show on Sino County where a friend visited Sino, the district number, they call that district number 3, the Joazan area. He walked 10 hours to go into the Sapo National Park, where people, he said the settlement they have there is like 200 huts. 10 hours walk deep in the forest. They have a settlement there called America. And the settlement that is most of the people from my hometown living, they call it Iraq. So just imagine, they are doing their own thing in the forest. He told me that schools have closed. When he went in the forest, he saw teachers, students, everybody in the forest hustling. Schools have closed. So he's afraid that within the next 10 years, there may be nobody who will read and write, who can read and write in the Joazan area. This is still the effect of the war. The entire Southeast is cut off and the people are all doing it. Imagine where I was, we used to eat book. Now they have Iraq. So, and the war we have not healed. When I came to America, it took me over 10 years. When I was passing through a toll booth, I used to still be terrified. I'm thinking that's a checkpoint. I still used to keep gallons because when I was in Ghana, to get water, you have to have little gallons. So when the milk finished, I would keep the gallon to use it to fetch water. When I went to college here, I went to community college because I wanted to get an associate degree first because I was so afraid that school was going to close soon, just like LU was closing every semester. So imagine somebody who still lives in Bannersville, that house the rebel medals in. Somebody who still lives there is still traumatized. So we as a people, we have not healed, and we need to have a plan. Our leaders need to lead us. They need to lead this reconciliation process. There's a signing memorial book here and there. Really will not cut it, but that's a good step in the right direction. Let's move on to Yekeh. Yekeh is in the southeast, and the southeastern, even though we call everything southeast now, which is we missing geography because how can you say Grand Judicial all the way almost north, you call it southeast. But anyway, that's a different story. But when we say southeast in Liberia now is what we know today as Maryland, River G, Sino, Grand Judicial, and sometimes River Cess, and a Grand Crew also, right? Yekeh Kolubah was there, and first he went there for the burial of or the reburial of President Doe, and now he decided to tour. And as Yekeh gets in these places, he's welcomed by a jubilant crowd. Take a look of the people. What? Yekeh gave me the full compensation. Dr. Pearson. Granny, what do you make of the jubilation
I think
and how they kind of welcome that Yekeh is receiving?
Yekeh is a representative representing Liberian people. Yes, Yekeh is someone who's sensational. People love him. Take it or leave it. That's who Yekeh is. Huh?
District number 10, Moserado County.
Yes.
He's
a popular figure. You don't forget. You know, Liberian people, we like sensational stories. Like Yekeh is a man of sensation.
Is he the man of the people? Is that why they are rejoicing to meet him?
I couldn't tell, because I mean, you see the people out there. Why wouldn't he be the man of the people? Let me go stand there and see whether anybody will follow me, or you go stand there. The people love Yekeh. It's almost like you can almost compare the likeness to Yekeh to that of the likeness of George Weah. No matter what people say, George Weah still carries the crown. That's it. What else can I say? The people that in Montserrado, they in Sano County, they in Grange, they're showing up for Yekeh. The people love Yekeh.
Dr. Pearson, why do people love Yekeh so much? Or is that not love?
Then is that three things playing out here. One, we still carrying the trauma of the Liberian Civil War, and we've passed that trauma on to our children without even knowing it, because like we are saying on this show, we have not healed yet. The second thing that is going on in this whole Liberia situation is the issue about dishonesty in leadership. And then the third thing here is that because Liberian politics is not ideological, people rely on those first two issues that I mentioned, and then they take advantage of it. So our young people, especially if you look at around Yekeh, so young people, our young people have grew up in a society where political leaders are definitely very disappointing. On every count, they are very disappointing. They lie a lot. A lot of them are a bunch of rogues. They come and they steal, and then they frustrate the dreams and aspirations of the population. So Yekeh, being an individual who has seen that loophole, has benefited from it even during President Weah's time, to just curse the one who is hurting the Liberian people. And so long you curse the person who is hurting the Liberian people tend to gravitate towards you because they feel you are the hero, the Henry Costa situation. Right? They feel you are the hero, you are the mouthpiece, you are the liberator, the Bokatu. And you know, I'm Stephen Gorman, I promise nobody, I'm allowed to nobody, I'm Stephen, nobody, I'll leave you alone. But now I'm ready to fight for you. Send a point fair to you. Once you made them get them elected office, they become worse than the people they came to remove. So Yekeh is saying over and over, listen to majority of his messages, that he is going to be president. He is going to run for president. If he doesn't run for president, he will give the deciding voice to who become president next that he will support. So, of course, yeah, we see him going across the country, and now he's gaining the popularity that the ordinary people find in his rhetoric, that our politicians are liars, they are crooks, they are thieves, they are deceptive, they are hypocritical. and then there's someone who's talking for them. Is this guy competent? Does he look like a competent individual to be leading our country as president, as lawmaker? No. The guy shouldn't even be anywhere near any government position. No, he doesn't have it. But this is Liberia. This is politics. In politics, anything do if you get a rhetoric. And now what happening now? Like Glenn said, if I win, they will not praise me, they will not sing for me that.
But are we missing something here? Because just what you have described, what you have stated, that was the same way George Weah was described. They say one guy describing, he said his sins is in your feet. But what did we see since 2005? George Weah had been winning election after election. Glendy, are we missing something here again?
I mean, you can go back to the story, the tale of the Liberian people is difficult to talk about. When you think that they want something,
is it the story of the Liberian people, or we are not actually understanding the Liberian people? Because it appears to me the Liberian people are crying and we are speaking book.
That is true. So it's difficult to comprehend because we think that it should be this way, and that's not the way they want it to be. That's not what they're following. It's like the young people, when you see the young people, they gravitate to somebody who, like somebody described Yekeh in the feed as being a brave man, someone who is brave, who can say whatever he wants. So they're like the young people look at him like their hero, who's not going to care, who is going to say exactly how he feels, who's not going to probably lie. And so that's what they see in Yekeh. They're looking for somebody to take up that mentor, and that's how it was for George Weah. And so after Weah now is Yekeh. Okay. People love Yekeh. I mean, this is not even in Montserrat.
What I'm showing now is Maryland. Yes. See Yekeh going to the football field. So, Dr. Pearson, is it the Liberian people leaving the book people, the doctors? When Yekeh was on his way, one video I watched, he bought is like they have food. He had a bowl in his hand, rubber bowl, and like 3 persons were eating with Yekeh in that same bowl. Now Yekeh is on the sport page. What message are we missing? The message the Liberian people are sending.
Dennis, I keep saying it. This is a typical view of the Liberian Civil War. If you were a general, you have arm in your hand, and you could mobilize a crowd, you will get a following. This is as simple as that. This is as simple as the soccer mentality, the football mentality. If you are a good player on the field, you get all the fun women in the town. This is the same mentality. It goes back to what we are saying here. The people are impoverished. The people are lied to. The people are deceived. The people are dumb every single time by people who project to love them and care for them. So if they see someone who have the sway, that have the appearance of leading them in whatever way they feel is, whether aggressive or not aggressive, but seeming to be standing for them, they will gravitate to them. And this is a serious problem for Liberia. Dennis, this is a very serious problem for. This is the same thing. You came a man, you came a pa. I will vote for that. The same thing here. We are with Sarah. Braga with Sarah. We are full. That is the same thing you see here. So that is the same thing happening here again. But is Yekeh honest? Yekeh is not honest. Yekeh is not a credible figure. Yekeh is will I be giving Yekeh any credential here for credibility? Zero credibility. Yekeh, yeah, you see, he supported Joe Braga because he didn't know Joe Braga could. Was Yekeh not in Liberia when Joe Braga served for 12 years as vice president? Was Yekeh not there when Joe Braga ended up 12 years of presidency and couldn't afford to face his own generator and replace the transformer? And Stanton Waterspoon was sending Monday allowances here. But Yekeh was not there to know that President Braga had issues with leadership. That now he's talking about all the things he know about President Braga. These are just rhetoric to get to get some political gains, and this is sad for our people. Very sad.
And we'll come to what do we do about it? And Glennie, you wanted to say something because if and I'm not saying this to say your Yekeh is something else, but if all the red deer then were having election, all the red deer will vote for red deer, right? So do we not see that a lot of the people in the country are like Yekeh? And don't say it's only young people. I saw women, older women in the street dancing for Yekeh because he probably seen as the embodiment of their pain. That nobody. I told you earlier that inside all the people are in the forest. They mining gold, cotton trees, making farm. Schools are closed.
Then they look at a dress code. This is intentional.
He's going to play. He's on the soccer pitch.
Besides that, look at a dress code when outside on these walks. Generally, look at all your videos. He presents himself like he like all the people around him. This is sad, man.
But this is the thing. It's like there's not a dressed up. There's not a dress up for how I think the dress up business and how we're supposed to look is probably more Western than anything else. Like me, I wear African to work. I tie my hair every day to work. That's just me. I think when we're looking for dress code to associate it with how people should look, then that's a problem because then people see us as being too top heavy, too much in a different degree, and we're not to their level. Here they identify with Yekeh because it's significant. He looks like them. He dresses like them. Yekeh will sit down in the market with them. Yekeh eats with them. You see any government official in Coastal going down to eat with people in a pen or in a bowl, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they like Daryl Dillon did it, right? And Daryl Dillon got the picture.
I'm just saying that some people won't do that. Like Dillon is another person that people follow because he does that. So people won't do that. I think it's and the thing I wanted to say was then is like, how are we showing up? What are we doing? And, we keep having elections over and over. The things that we think when we're saying that we want for the Liberian people, it's not what they want. Because they keep gravitating to something else. It means that what we're doing is not working.
We are not listening to them. That's what you mean. It was when he was in Grand Cru, the people said, this is our first time to see, in Barclayville specifically, this is our first time to see a lawmaker that we can work with, that we can touch, that we can shake hands with. This is our first time. And if I was born all the way behind God's back in Goodwicken and I started going to school, when they say the superintendent is coming, the whole week we are waiting. In the morning, we dress, we line up the road. Nobody comes. There's no telephone. In the evening, we go home. The next day, and those, I don't want to use any bad word on them, my own video. Those people lied to us. Now, one day, it was just when one time, I don't know who slept with Nipe was at that time, whether it was school, he came, and it was like hallelujah time. I mean, just for you to see them, nobody comes. When they said they're coming, and we will wait for weeks. We practice all the drills, all the recitation, all the speeches for an entire month, and nobody shows up. So just his presence alone means a lot. We've been joined on the phone by Dr. Josh Williams. Josh, are you there?
Dennis, I'm here and I'm enjoying the conversation. Like all of you, let me say, I recognize the panelists, Glenda and Dr. Do I call you Dr. Juniors? And Dr. Lawyer Juniors and Dr. Pearson. I totally agree with all of the sentiments shared already. It's a worrisome situation. I followed the FOL journalists wherever Yekeh went. And I'll be honest with you, I just left the company of one of our representatives or senators from one of those counties that Yekeh visited. And I asked the question, what is Yekeh's presence and the attraction saying to you and all of your colleagues in those areas, especially in an area where this man doesn't represent? How is he so popular? What is the message? What are we not doing? Or what are you guys not doing? But Yekeh is a symbolism of where we've fallen short. And I say we, all of those who consider themselves elitists now, we're in power, we're in a position where we don't necessarily identify in an effective way. And identifying with ordinary people does not mean you necessarily need to sit and eat with your hand in a bowl. But it's also about the messaging. What is Yekeh saying to these people that's causing them to want to even listen to him? Are there things we're doing wrong? Are there things that we can correct? So much so that whatever kind of message that Yekeh, basically to disarm the likes of Yekeh, to disarm him. Because if things had been done the right way, if our public relations is effective, a lot of the things that Yekeh comes out with in the ways that he says them wouldn't come out, because that information would have already been in the public domain. But if the likes of Yekeh has to come out and lead the narrative, that's a problem. And so I think public relations, government public relations is being hurt because it's not as effective as it ought to be. And then secondly, in all of our doings, things have to be done properly. So much so that it disarms the likes of Yekeh, who will go out there and is able to attract a very gullible population. I saw older men, younger men. I saw town chiefs and elders, greeting Yekeh and basically pledging support. Basically pledging support. Now I know they do it for everyone who visits them, but Yekeh is a different character, and I think it requires deeper study, not just from the government, but even politicians, even ordinary politicians. How is this guy able to leave District 10 in Maserado and go gain the level of attraction in Grand Jita and other places? There has to be a counter action to that, and it has to be effective but well thought out.
Yekeh was on radio Voice of Sino in Greenville, and he said he's thinking of running. And if he becomes president, he's going to appoint the bag rider as superintendent. He's going to appoint, because people are demonized and they take their bag, and they are dirty, he's going to appoint the market woman as city mayor because they want to show people that they are clean. And Yekeh was laying out his plan.
Yeah, again, if you have an effective public relations program, those kinds of conversations will go nowhere. It will go nowhere. Holistically, though, and it's part of the deeper societal deficit that we have. Education is at the lowest ebb. As an educator, I see that as a problem of education. And until we go back and invest, the likes of Yekeh will continue to gain traction with ordinary people on the street. A lot of the people who ran around where Yekeh should have been people in the classroom. Those people should have been in schools. They weren't. And that's a problem. Even in Grand Jita, a lot of people, we say, well, it was a festive occasion, sending home the icon of the county and what have you. But what happened in River G, Sino, Maryland, all the places he went? A lot of those young people should have been in school. Why were they not in school? And what does that say about our commitment to education? And if we're doing what we need to do, Yekeh's conversation, his narrative can never gain traction anywhere. But even in Nimba, Yekeh was gaining traction. Why? It means we're not doing something right, and we need to ask ourselves that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is focused on Liberia. We are discussing the nomination of Justice Gbeisay, the reburial of President Tolbert, or the memorialization, as Dr. Pearson wants us to say, and Yekeh completed tour of Southeast. Southeast is where I'm from. I was able to even show a video of River Dubai, how the people are crossing during the President Boakai, at least I thought he was even going to use that time to Grand Jide to visit Sino or Maryland or Grand Cru.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go there. Even President I didn't go there. I didn't see Finance Minister Tua, even though he's from that side. And all these people.
What about the senators? The senators and representatives, do they go there?
Maybe a little bit, but not quite. And this is, I like to show this. It was on my.
As you can see, this is Dubai River.
This is a river in my
The entire crossing point has been damaged, and people are trying to manage to cross. People are telling you, why are the representatives and the senators who fed are the.
Okay. So when the area is neglected, that's what you get. So why is Yekeh going where nobody wants to go? What's the problem, Glendy? And if you want to join the conversation, call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403 £. This is River Dubai all the way in District Number 2, Sino County.
Yekeh is grassroots.
Yeah, and you see the ferry or whatever that is.
That is ferry there.
And those guys are still
That is your grace.
No, but Glennon,
that's a makeshift ferry there.
Glennon, that is the ferry. That is the ferry. That is it. That's as much investment as our representatives and senators have committed to the county. That's the ferry. Yep.
So why government officials, I mean, when they were going there, reluctant, President Boakai is yet to go on that side. What do you think? You think President Boakai, he doesn't like the Southeast, or what is it?
So how you reaching? President Boakai just coming from Grand Jide, not Southeast? Is that not Southeast, Grand Jide?
No. Let you go to Grand Cru, Sino, and Maryland.
Dennis,
it's not on the Southeast side.
Dennis, the Grand Cru is a tough terrain to travel. The president is not as young as many of us.
So let you take helicopter.
He will go there as he sees fit. It's just been 2 years. Of course, he's just been to Grand Jide under the circumstance that he went there, but I'm more than confident that he will travel across the country when he deems it fit. But
how Dr. Williams sounding like he's spokesperson for the government, so.
Well, we can be critical of all we want. We can be critical of all we want. I like to put myself in the president's shoe, frankly.
Which is true.
But this president was vice president for 12 years. He ran campaign, and still there's a no-go era for him.
Yeah, but also there's no timing when exactly he can visit those places. So I wouldn't make that an issue. What I will, however, argue is that the likes of what we just saw, the Dewey River and the bridges and road access, what is he doing about it? And what evidence is there that the Southeast stands to benefit? Do we see semblance of the Southeast benefiting from road investment, infrastructure development? Is there evidence that is going to reach that area soon? Those are, for me, that's where we need to focus on. And he can choose whenever he hopes to visit. Who knows? Some of the things that I was privy to.
And that's the point, right? Because if you don't visit, you don't feel the pain of the people. Will you ever care?
True. I mean, I'm from Siklepo, and I leave that to you all to determine where Siklepo is in the Southeast. I'm sure Dr. Pearson will need his geography notes to find Siklepo, but I haven't been there since 1997. I haven't been there since 1997. Why? Because reaching out there isn't easy. But I am more than sure that hopefully government's effort is going to touch that area of the country. And if it doesn't, the government coming after, hopefully they will. And that's why we need to do all we can to ensure that we're electing people who will get us there. You're from Sino, you know. When was the last time you talked to your representative and your senator?
I was trying to bring you on the show yesterday. He was in a meeting, and so that is it. I hope I can get him because the ancestors have commissioned me to bring them on the show.
Please, we got to bring Senator Che, Senator Duncan. We need to get them here.
Yeah, we need to. But let me take some calls.
Okay.
Let's take some calls here. The first is the UK train, Joe Moyu. Joe, you're live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dennis, how's it going?
All is well.
I'm a little bit surprised, and then again, I'm not too surprised that Yekeh will go up, to Grand Jita and those places. And then they, it's like the new coming of Christ or whatever. First thing that people should ask Yekeh, he's a sitting legislator. How many bills has he written to help improve the lot of his people? That's something I would like to know. I mean, you just can't say, "Oh, I won't be president," and rush up country. Of course, people see you. And there are many reasons that they were rejoicing. That some of them were looking for money from him. So it wasn't like only because of his popularity they see him come in and they expect something. And that's what happens when you have the level of illiteracy we have, especially in the rural areas of Liberia. People just don't know how to analyze it. What sort of bill has Yekeh written? How many bills? All I hear him is being bombastic and vulgar.
But Joe, those who wrote the bill, what have the bill done?
What? But then
he can say, at least I tried. I wrote XYZ bill, and it didn't go anywhere. But he hasn't done any of that.
Dennis, I have Joe.
From Yekeh is very loud, very rude, very boisterous, and that's where that's like I said, when you have a country with a large, illiterate population, that's what happens. Ignorance, poverty will give you, people will stand up and hail people like Yekeh. So, and I agree with the man, the gentleman before me. That we're in a very sorry state, very, very sorry state. And I see him going up to Sino County. My father from that area, he went. It's in Sino, from the Seacon area, And I was in Sino in 2015. It's somewhere that almost looks like, it has been completely, they're not put it in the hands of the Malians. Everywhere when I saw people from Mali, they run all the stores and stuff like that when I was in there in 2015. So, but actually Yekeh, it's a very, very sorry state. When I saw the video on your program of people jumping up and, praising him and all that, it's awful. It was an awful sight. That's the way I see it. Very opposite, because he has no leadership skills. He has no education. Why he even talking about running for president? That's how low we have come.
And Joe, that's how we always think. That's how we are, and we thought he was not. But let me take conclude so I can take one more caller.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8484 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Mr. Dennis, how you doing?
Great.
My name is Bishop Greg. I'm looking at the conversation. I'm surprised that people are going down, really down. I listened to the fellow order with the PhD, and the lady down there too. Yekeh is a lawmaker. I know we got freedom of speech in the country, but a lawmaker abusing the president, a lawmaker using Marcos and everything. What is law doing about it? I don't care what differences you have, but you get a lawmaker, you're supposed to enforce the law, you're supposed to have constructive words of sentence, and you're out there abusing the president, a little kid, and a man getting or to say he won't become president. Is that how far Liberia going on? Very bad.
Yekeh did not start abusing the president today. He's been doing that for the past 7 years.
I know. I've been watching. I'm listening to the deputy. I've been watching. Okay. But it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm telling you.
And even worse.
It's disgusting, my brother.
Yeah, but what do you make of the Chief Justice appointment and also the memorialization of President Tolbert and President Doe? I want your comment.
Oh yeah. Let me talk about President Barker, what he did. From my side, it's reconciliation.
Okay.
The country is hyped. Maybe the other people may look at it like he's trying to put his name out there, but that's a very good start for President Barker. Buried the late President Doe. We buried them, both of them.
Right now, I'm showing the Dubai Bridge. You'll see that.
It's a very good start. I'm not monitoring President Barker so much, but he just started. Let's give him a chance.
Thank you.
Let's give him a chance. I want to ask him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What you are saying there? This is the county Yekeh went in. There's a bridge was built by one logging company just to pass their log, right? So the area is completely neglected by the elected officials, including the president and their representatives. So if Yekeh gets to this place, and I'm sure kids across the bridge are supposed to go to school, how you expect them to do it? So if we think, if somebody goes there and say, "Hey, I'm speaking for you," how you think the people are going to react? But Dr. Pearson, I know you have all the way you describe Yekeh. So what do we do?
Thank you, Dennis. And thanks to the callers who just called. They made some good points. Dennis, the difficult thing I hear people try to blame education, poverty, and things. I think Yekeh is cashing on failed governance. Yekeh is cashing off on failed leadership. If President Weah did not fail the Liberian people, Yekeh would not have gained currency in his advocacy. If President Barker was leading well, I don't think Yekeh will have any currency for political maneuvering like this. So until we have a good leadership in our country, people will take advantage of our people. And let me tell you something. When
how is that taking advantage if Yekeh is going there and identifying with them?
What kind of identifying? Yekeh leave and then they go. Yekeh ain't pay anybody rent. Yekeh ain't giving anybody down there.
But contrast them with somebody else who's going there. Who else is going there? Who else has been there? Who else has done video?
Glenny.
Who else?
Glenny, that's what I said. He's cashing out on failed leadership. But that does not qualify him to be any material for leadership in our country. Because we'll go back to the same thing. We're doing right now with President Barker. You can't tell me in any circumstance, you can't tell me say Yekeh is better than President Barker when it comes to leadership. There is no way I'm going to agree with you with all the criticism I got for President Barker. No way.
Mr. Pearson, I'll stop you in your tracks. Compare your previous president to his competitors. And what the people say, the very same thing you are saying. There's no way he can defeat those people with experience. And what did he do? He defeated them. Why? How? The explanation is all out there. Ordinary people who barely taught the defects of our educational system propelled Mr. Weah to the presidency. It can happen for George, for Yekeh. It can happen for Yekeh. Let's not overlook it.
Yeah, but you're not disagreeing with me. I'm telling you, failed leadership is resulting to why Yekeh is gaining in
I agree. I agree.
If the leadership is performing, Yekeh will have no advocacy to advocate about.
True. True. I mean, public education has to be transformed. It has to be sophisticated enough to preempt. A lot of what I see happening is reactive. We have to preempt some of these things and go ahead of it, you know, so that people like Yekeh don't gain currency. But of course, there are deeper issues. The complexity of Liberia's problem runs very deep. And I don't see any government that can holistically address all of it. But the basic things, the basic transformation of society as far as leadership is concerned, it has to be more rigorous than it is right now. You know, so that the likes of Yekeh, they're not gaining as much traction as they're gaining.
I have a different view. I think the likes of Yekeh should actually gain traction. Why not?
No, you tell us why you think.
Explain why.
I mean, why not? The reason is why not? What do we have to who do we have to contrast with Yekeh? Or what are we saying?
So let me answer you. Let me answer you by putting it this way. Being a good advocate does not translate to leadership. That's two different things altogether. I can go and curse all my community leaders for not performing, not doing what they're supposed to do, and talk for my people in the community. But does that make me a leader to take over that leadership? No. What Yekeh is doing is benefiting from failed leadership with the attempt to go towards state power. And that's bad for our country. We must say this, and we gotta say, if you give me a chance, I will go back to my district when I go by the next time I'm in District 6. I'm gonna be telling all my young people the same thing. You know, a man can be a good advocate, but does that make him a good leader? No. Leadership is not something you pick up because people like you. No.
So in a democracy, is true. You have to compare Yekeh against something, right? So who are you comparing Yekeh with?
In terms of abusing, in terms of causing man cause, and causing the president, because of what Yekeh is doing.
But you have told me on this very network that causing man cause, it pales in comparison to somebody looting, somebody stealing.
Exactly. Dennis,
right? So if you elect the people that have killed mass murderer, if you elect people that rape babies in diapers, if you elect people that just look at themselves, compare that to Yekeh cousin of George Weah, quote unquote, stink toes.
So again, you gotta be careful here now. You cannot be trading bad apples for bad apples and then makes an argument. That's not making an argument. So it does not make an argument. Yekeh's gravitas to political capital is insults to our national leaders.
No, Yekeh is standing out. Yekeh is saying, "Hey."
So he said, "Who behave like Yekeh?" No one wants to behave like Yekeh, Dennis.
Yekeh, when they went there, they say, "Hey, they're trying to bribe us." So they see him as the man of the people, and to them, most Liberians believe their problem is corruption. People are robbing them, so they believe that Yekeh is going to expose corruption, and that's why they are gravitating towards him.
Which corruption?
Can we try
Which
something?
corruption? Yekeh getting the 30,000, everybody getting the House of Representatives. Yekeh getting the 45,000 car, everybody getting the House of Representatives. Yekeh taking pay, every other honorable person taking pay. Yekeh is just showboating and taking advantage of the failed leadership in the country, and our people buying it. Simple.
But this is the thing, Dennis. We'll continue to say that people will continue to ignore the propensity that might be created from Yekeh's outreach until we get to a place where it's going to be very late. We did this with George Weah. George Weah became president. Yes. There's so many other people, other factors have propelled them, and they're in positions that we can control. we may be looking at, I mean, I'm a victim of Yekeh. I mean, there's a video around with Yekeh costing me before. He's done that. So it's like, what do you say? What do we have to contrast with what he's doing? We have nothing. If you even were to check the areas that Yekeh went to, have the senators from those areas been there? Have the representatives from those areas, have they been there? Where are the proof? Where are the videos? Where are the proof to say they've been to the people? We cannot continue to ignore what the citizenry of a community is saying and wanting, and we're thinking that no, we're gonna change that. We're gonna change the outlook. They see themselves in Yekeh.
And Jack Glendy, let me buttress that. When I was in Dodokan, the missionary left the mission, but they left one light pole in the center of the town. That light pole, that's why we gather to study. In the mosquito eating you, you don't care. You want to study. So that light pole, let's say if the bulb blew up and somebody came to give us just one bulb, do you think we're not going to vote for that person? It's just a bulb. You may think, because in where you are in Philadelphia, in your $1.5 million house, you don't even realize how important a light bulb is. So the people that are doing it is, if Yekeh can relieve them out of their current pain, they're fine with that. They don't care for long-term plan.
You can't providing nothing for the people, my brother. Let me tell you,
all they want is somebody. There's a guy who was in Grand Jada going to school. He said one night he was very hungry, and somebody asked him, "Have you eaten?" He said that alone, he was satisfied. But he said, "Brother, did the person give you food?" He said, "No." Well, at least he asked me. People just want to see who can identify with them in their sorrow. That's it.
Superficial interest. Superficial interest.
But that's self-preservation.
You know.
Gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen, let's conclude.
That is the small screen President Burger used on the people.
Let's conclude. Let me start with you, Dr. Pearson.
Dennis, man, look, let me just say thank you for tonight. It was good having me, and I want to tell you thank you for that. And I want to say thanks to Glendy for showing up today, our dependable female on the platform. Thanks to
Dennis thinks differently. Dennis thinks differently.
Dr. William, thanks for being there, and our followers out there. It was good having you all and your participation on the call. Listen, I would say, look, we are all in for dealing with our past, but we have to deal with the past in a more mindful way, well thought out plan, so that people don't feel like you're trying to play on people's emotions and people hurt and feelings. It shouldn't show like you're trying to pick and choose and reward people because you get more political capital for what you're going to do with them. We think that would be very wrong. I think we should be more serious about how we go about the entire reconciliatory process in our country. With the issue that has to do with Yekeh Kolubah, look, I think field leadership is giving Yekeh the political capital he's gaining. And until we can get it right, those who are in power can get it right, Yekeh will continue to gain political capital. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's no education, there's no sweet talk, there's no radio propaganda that will change it until the people's lives can change. When the people's lives are not changing, Yekeh will say, oh, the president ain't doing nothing for you. The people say that true. We got to know, they can see their bowls empty, right? So until our country can move in a direction our people's life will improve, they will settle down for any lies people give them in pretense that they care about them. And I think that is sad for our country. And then our Papa Gbeisay, look, President Barker, I hope he's in contact with Chief Justice Yaw, and that they're having some consultation in the back channel wherein the time for nomination confirmation will coincide with retirement, so that there is no conflict with the process, because the Constitution does provide for her hanging on and clearing her place before she can leave office. So if President Barker is in a hurry to replace her because of the interest with case that he wants to bend to his will, that will be bad for our country. So I hope they are playing the cards well. Thank you again for tonight.
Glendy? Yeah.
So it's good being on. Even though I almost didn't show up. But it was great to be here tonight. Thank you to everyone for watching. It's always good to participate in the conversation concerning our country. There's nowhere better than home. We always will do what we can to be a part of the discussion as it relates to Liberia. Look, today for me was significant. It was a significant day for me. I want to thank the families. I was approached a couple of times, but I wasn't brave enough. I didn't feel that I was ready. But the family stuck with it, and they were able to plan a program, series of programs that's going to be honoring their loved ones, our loved ones who've gone before us. I also want to say thank you to the government that work along with the families to be able to a degree memorialize some of our families. I still remember as a little girl when my dad was arrested in Gbeisay County. I was standing in front of the yard looking at them taking him in the van. And the only reason why he was arrested because he was county attorney of Gbeisay at that time. He had gone to Port Stockett. He was actually in the same cell with my uncle. Charles D.B. King was married to my aunt. And my aunt was on her way to BTC to take food to them. And almost as she got to the gate, she was told that the husband had just been shot. And I still remember the terror, the anger, the hurt that we felt as a little girl. I still remember it vividly. So today for me meant that after 45 years, I'm ready to move on. After 45 years, they're gone, they're not forgotten. But I think it's a road to recovery and a road to reconciliation. And that's where I am. So I want to say thank you to everyone. It's not easy. Some people have been hurt more than others. Even for people who've lost relatives that doesn't have a grave. My grand aunt died on soul cleaning mission. We couldn't bury her, so we dug a hole. We didn't have any. We couldn't go back home. It was during the war. We dug a hole on soul cleaning mission and we buried her there. There's so many stories people have. I hope they will find some consolation. I hope they will find comfort so that each of us will play our role on this reconciliation process. The government has to do more, has to do better, have to engage other people. But of course, we're not saying that let's move on with all punitive measures. Of course, war crime code is still something that I advocate for. But today was just different for me. Moving on. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Williams.
Dennis, unfortunately, I wasn't here for the entirety of the show, but those aspects that my colleagues have spoken about, reconciliation, national reconciliation, I think it's a very good first start for the government. I think those two are the leaders who were memorialized today and their families and the Doe family earlier last week, I think represent two critical periods in our national history. Like I said on our show when we talked to Dr. Weir, I think a fundamental foundational piece in the whole reconciliation process is the establishment of truths. What are the truths? What are the actual truths? We're still in doubt as to what happened in 1980. What exactly happened? Who carried that out? We're still today. I read a piece from the children of Flanzamiton to the Doe family, expressing their hurt at the fact that their father was framed. And so there are many pieces of the pie that needs to be addressed in terms of what the truth is so that we can truly heal. I look forward, despite all that the government has done, and I applaud them, but I look forward to a government-driven, well thought out process of national reconciliation, a process where the government will lead by example, will lead the process. It will be a consultative process that will bring all Liberians together. There are too many aspects of our national history that we haven't yet reconciled with. And we can go all the way back to the years of E.J. Roy and what the truth was. We are fed with lies, and our history is fraught with so many lies, so many untruths, so many unsubstantiated circumstances that need to be addressed. How can we be teaching lies in our history books? How can our national existence be a lie? A simple thing like were we ever colonized? There's still debates about that. There's still debates about that. And so we have to, we need what might easily be called a national cleansing. We need to re-examine who we are, what we are, why have we come to where we are. Our national identity needs to be reassessed. Who are we? Who are we? We're restating pledges that belong to another country. We're using a flag that belongs to another country. It's copied after, copy and pasted after another country. There's so much about our national history. Americans are breaking down statues that remind them of the ugly civil war. We are in Monrovia, still using the name Monrovia that does not belong to us. That's a representation of slave owners and the very history we downcry, how we were established and how that process has led us to where we are. But we're still memorializing James Monroe, after whom our capital is named. After whom, yeah, there's not one indigenous person who's recognized. Those who lost sweat and blood to keep our country going, none of them are recognized like James Monroe. Our biggest referral hospital, JFK, is named after John F. Kennedy. What did John F. Kennedy do for us? What has he done for us? And so there's a lot to grapple with. There's a national conversation to be had. And again, like Dr. Pearson says, it falls on leadership. Leadership has to drive it. For the total transformation, holistic transformation of our country, in terms of our psychosocial mindset, it has to be government-led, because individuals will try all they can and will yield very little. And so, I could go on, but let me stop here. And thank you for the forum. Thank you so much. FOL is doing very well, and I'm proud to be identified with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glendy, Dr. Pearson, Dr. William, I want to thank you all for tonight. I want to thank our
I think I'm going to go back to school to get my own Dr. Tato.
Yes.
You better. You better.
Please do that.
Your power will be happy.
On that note, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our